Okay.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started. We're gonna call this meeting to order 6:03 PM. Economic Development Commission monthly May meeting. We have a quorum here, so we're gonna get started. We might have a couple more commission members join as the meeting gets started here, but for now, we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Lori, do you mind running us through roll call?
I don't mind at all. Chair Lawson,
Here.
Vice Chair Barron,
Present.
Lisa Fry. Present. Jacqueline, I'll watch for, Mike, I'll watch for, he's gonna be online,
Mike's excused.
okay, and AB is gonna be online, and David Amanor. I only say it once a month and I stumble over it every time. Your ex officio this evening is Council President Aaron Dumbrow. Thank you.
Excellent. Did we have any public comments submitted ahead of time?
We did not.
Okay. Any public comment before we get into some unfinished business from the crowd? We got quite a crowd tonight.
I know.
This is the most we've had in, yeah, a long time.
Ordered pizza.
Yeah. Glad we splurged for the extra chairs. All right, we'll take a look at last month, the month of April's regular session minutes. We discussed a number of topics. The first of which was the survey results. We'll touch on those tonight as well. And then got into our Q1 council update. So we had some discussion back and forth on how we want to supply an update to city council on some of the items we've been working on for Q1, and then we ultimately discussed expanding that to include middle to end of last year as well, so that we could capture some items we've been working with new city council members, getting them up to speed and trying to bridge the gap with some of those items. We also discussed the EDC budget and how we would be able to utilize that, some of the specific learning opportunities for this group, and we had a bit of a Q&A there on what we could utilize the budget for. And we also discussed the URA and how this group can be an advocate for not letting that group sunset. And then we also had a quick reminder, and I'm sure we'll have another reminder this evening regarding the city cleanup that is scheduled for this coming Saturday. So I'm sure Lisa will touch on that later. Any questions or go backs from last month that we want to revisit them before I entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I second.
All right, all those in favor of approving April's meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. All right, we have unanimous approval of April's meeting minutes this evening, which means we can just keep rolling into unfinished business. We're gonna start off with some not so great news, update on survey results. I did hear from the chamber today that, and I need to work through this with them. They don't have any new survey responses since our last meeting. I'll have to work with the chamber to sort that out. I don't know what the root cause of that is, but if the link has been active and we just aren't getting responses, I think that's obviously where we can take action, and we can discuss that tonight with a few of our guests in terms of how we can best promote things like the survey and be able to start actually knocking on doors, calling businesses, try to get a bit more engagement there. So unfortunately, no major update on that front. Other than we'll need to start brainstorming some ways to get a bit more engagement there. or,
Ask a question.
Yes.
That just went out to businesses that they had contact information for,
correct, that was supplied via.
my
the-
business license,
Correct,
right?
yeah,
Cause I was gonna say if we could put something in the newsletter, but we get other people that aren't businesses.
Right.
answering it.
right,
I don't know how to get, just narrow it down to get.
yeah. So we could, I think we have a couple paths forward, we can, leave it open. We had talked about trying to capture essentially a quarter's worth of responses. I think we can leave it open and just kind of action it ourselves, try to go get better engagement, get the word out via connecting with businesses and or some, city communication. Or we essentially do a reset and take it down and try to brainstorm a bit of more of a communication plan with it and launch it a second time. I can work with the chamber on what that would look like. I think I would like a bit more control in terms of how we're able to issue it out and whatnot. The chamber's been a huge help with that, but it has been clunky in terms of working it through their website and their system. So if anyone else has any ideas though, and
I like the idea of pulling it back and kind of working with the city to come up with a communication plan and then relaunching it. So whether that's notices through like the utility bills, on the city's website, all the above, just kind of get a good marketing plan and then be like, this is coming. And then launch it through something that we control.
Including follow-up emails, right? Remember
Right.
we did the survey 2 weeks ago, please.
Yeah.
Please look for it, or here's another chance to, respond to it.
and items like that, we could lay out pretty explicitly in a plan, like a communication plan that we would follow.
We would do like a QR code in the utility bill after like we made the announcement this is coming, do like a QR code that takes you to the survey link.
Mhm.
Right.
But again, like I said, we need to figure out a way to, how do we have businesses respond rather than everybody?
Yeah.
Is it more businesses, look in your inbox, that kind of thing, yeah.
Sorry,
No,
you're just a question,
Go ahead.
I'm curious,
Yeah.
I don't know, but, what if you just ask them, to put what business they're responding for, and then you get multiples maybe, I mean, it's not perfect, but it's something.
Yeah, I think we tried to keep it as anonymous as possible in terms of the type of feedback we get. We
So
did,
be honest.
yeah, we are collecting some demographic data in terms of like size of business and whatnot, but we could have essentially a prereq of a question that solidifies that they
Are
do
you a
business
business?
in,
Owner
right,
Mhm.
or a manager of a business in North Platte.
correct. It's almost like an informed consent type question of like, this is,
I'm just concerned because, well, just like on council, we get a lot of input that maybe isn't always useful, so I'm trying to like think,
yeah.
how could we make it actionable, like you're
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah, and that was one of our goals with the survey is to make it as quantifiable as we
Yeah.
can. We do have areas within the survey where we will get some qualitative data and feedback. That hopefully we can first look at like an aggregate level of
Yeah.
our data and then dive into some of the qualitative statements and feedback we would get. And then kind of our next phase is going out and meeting with the businesses. In conjunction with the chamber, so. I think we have a good plan, but in terms of our execution plan, we need a plan for a plan.
Was
Oh,
it
city
originally
government.
an email was sent out or what? Okay, cause.
It was sent out and it was sent out in the, standard chamber
Newsletter.
newsletter style.
Oh, okay.
And so I do think it probably got lost in some of that communication as well.
Mhm.
So I think being able to rein it back, have our own communication plan would be a bit more also unique. I think it would catch the eye potentially more so than like a chamber announcement, even though that's a huge help getting the word out. I think sometimes it gets lost in the shuffle too.
Well, I think where we can still partner with the chambers, have them involved in the marketing of it.
Yeah.
Maybe not control it, but like have them be part of like, hey, we're sending out newsletters that this is coming. And have them send that to their membership. And so it's just says, hey, just be aware this is coming.
Yeah.
I think that's where we can lean on them to have them still be involved in the process, but not managing the actual survey component of it.
Yeah.
Why don't you ask a chamber member how he prefers to get, are you a member of the chamber?
Amy just emailed us and she's having trouble getting in to the link for some reason.
Let me,
Mr. Chairman, and
Yeah.
the time ability.
let me,
What the meeting
Send
minutes sent was, the April meeting minutes.
I did-
For some reason, I can't find the minutes, in my email.
I don't know if that I received them via email. Have to double check. They can be found on the city's website though.
Yeah, I just go to the meeting
Oh.
packet on the website and they're at the bottom of it usually.
Okay. That's.
But I haven't checked. Sometimes it might go to a spam folder. Did any other commission members
I
receive?
didn't notice it until Michael responded, but that might just be me
I'm,
losing it in the shuffle.
Okay,
I don't know what you guys are doing. I just send a link to it.
okay.
Chairman Lawson, I wanted to add to, in support of your idea of doing a relaunch, is even that first time that we did it several years ago, we got more responses.
Right.
And that was just a very amateur first draft.
It was.
attempt. So I would expect we should get a lot more responses.
Yeah, and we just sent that out. I sent it out as an email off of I just BCC'd all the emails we had on the
Yeah.
business.
I think that would be effective in terms of it's unique enough. It catches people's eye.
Well, because it comes from the city then, and
Yeah.
it's a little bit more noticeable,
Mhm.
I think, but
I think so.
I mean, if there's other ways that you guys can think of.
npedc@gmail.com.
So again, just my learning, are
Yeah.
you targeting only brick and mortar or home based? Cause I know we have. a few-
Home based too.
Yeah, so there's a qualifier in there that kind of talks about like what type of business you are. So that way, as we get the data back, we can find out like, hey, what types of responses?
And Lori, is everyone who has a business license in the city of North Plains, correct, is on that list?
No,
Oh.
it's always a work in progress, like I just saw that there's a fairly new daycare in town, through
That's
someone's
cool.
house, but it's more than just watching one or two kids, they advertise. Of course, I sent them the information and it came back, they must have a PO box, or I don't know. There are some people that just manage to stay under the radar, you know?
So that's what it's based on, at least, an attempt for the.
Yes, and I keep an eye on, I deactivated my Facebook, but I did keep an eye on that on the North Plains community page, because then I see people advertising their businesses, and that's how I've caught several of them.
That's how you get up. You paid your water bill.
Yeah. So I try to, I mean, they don't know what they don't know. If they move here and they do a business from the home, a lot of them don't know that they need that, you know, and it depends on what their business is. If they're just working from home themselves, we don't require it. If they're, you know, if they have somebody come to their house for anything, then we do, because it's traffic and, you know, there's some
Which is,
specifics that.
yeah, that's where like, we talked about posting flyers with QR codes, just on the off chance per se that someone is a business owner within the city and might not have gotten that email communication, but would still be interested in taking the survey. And then the list that Lori supplied had different contractors who even like apply for permits within the city, so we just filtered by actual address of the business is in 97133. Instead of trying to capture kind of out of city
Mhm.
services and things like that. Okay, so I think the action here would be to pull the survey back, not that anyone's looking at it, and I can work with Cindy and team at the chamber to let them know our path forward here. We'll develop somewhat of a framework just for our communication plan of getting it issued, and then any type of follow-up cadence and the different channels that we want to work through, and we can talk through that tonight with Therese too on what might be most beneficial there to reach businesses, not necessarily residents. And then hopefully next next month, we can talk. Some of the specifics and maybe issue it as like a June. Revamped survey,
Sounds good.
okay.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Welcome.
You have your
Thank
foot
you.
up?
Yeah, and the video part's not working. Like, I don't even know what's going on right now.
No worries,
Sorry, guys.
all good. Any thoughts? I don't know what all you caught. Essentially, we did not get any further survey responses, so we're gonna go ahead and pull it back in terms of we'll deactivate the link that's currently out there and kind of issue our own EDC plan of attack with the survey.
Okay.
David, Chris, Lisa, anything else on survey topic? Good. All right, so item B, unfinished business. Review our quarterly update and review schedule for city council updates and boards and commissions meetings. We have an attachment there to talk through the specific schedule. But we can, before we get to that, the quarterly update,
We got a chance to connect before, and I will just tell everyone, I did not finish it, so I will finish it before the end of the week, and I'm gonna send it to Lori to distribute to everyone, so I don't create a quorum by sending it to you guys. So Lori, I'll send it to you
Okay.
before end of day Friday, and then if you can just send it out to everyone else.
Will do.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then let's take a look at the schedule that's attached. It's just looking at the different commissions and boards. Obviously, we meet the first Wednesday of every month. I think the plan is to have a work session. And Counselor, you can maybe fill in any gaps here, but have a work session and some type of review of a report. It looks like one work session, 2 reports, that's in 2026 and beyond, but
Yeah, so I mean, I think the main thought process was, first of all, you got 5 new counselors, so there's a little bit of knowledge gap there. But also, make sure that there's better, that we're communicating with you and your community, like everybody's talking better. And also try to figure out like, how can we help you and you, basically how can we work together? And then answer questions on any of the priorities that come out of budget committee and out of the council pillars. And then as far as the report, it was just to give an opportunity, as I recall, for you all to just say, hey, we've been working on these projects, here's where we got to, and here's where we need you to remove the roadblock, or whatever it is, whatever you may determine is necessary. But it was just to make sure that we were spending more time with boards and commissions, especially since we're new,
right,
so that we can make sure that we're,
staying stitched in with like
Yeah.
what's going on.
yeah.
I think, so last year we implemented what we were calling a quarterly review.
Yeah.
And our latest or our last in 2025 was to the previous council members. And so I think we were talking about expanding our scope, not just to Q1, but try to capture as much as we can for new council members to try to get everyone up to speed. And then it looks like in July is when we would be shooting for a work session with council.
Which will be good, because we do also need to convene the URA board and talk about some of that stuff, which I know you're gonna talk about as well, but there'll be a URA work session coming up as well, which we would love to have you if you're open to, but because we're trying to figure out how can we, and I'll talk about it more later, but how can we help create policies that help you guys do what you're trying to do, but also we need you to kind of tell us some of the stuff that you want us to create policies around so that it
Right.
kind of fits, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we're not doing things in a vacuum.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do, what I'm hoping.
Do we have an official day? I don't know, Lori, you would know on a work session in July, just mostly concerning the holiday.
Right, well, because I kind of figured we wouldn't have your normal meeting like we
Right.
do in July, so they meet on the first and third Mondays.
Okay,
So I would imagine it would be the third Monday.
okay,
Third Monday of July.
Yeah, that would just be my guess,
yeah,
but it
Like,
it could be either.
yeah,
Yeah, when they do the same night they do staff reports.
Okay.
So,
So it looks like that would be the 21st. If week 1 of July. So the 30th of June is a Monday, so I don't know, does that technically mean that's week 1 of
No.
no,
only calendar date?
it's when the first Monday of the month, how about that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect, so then, yeah, the 7th and the 21st would be the 2 July dates. So we'll plan on the 21st for now, nothing set in stone, but I
Right.
think that's a
Yeah.
good call.
Yeah.
Okay. See, just a quick overview. So joint work sessions, aligning work of boards and commissions with council goals, progress on related city plans, and discuss completed, current, and proposed projects. And then the reports or updates that we were discussing, so more comprehensive report than what is included in monthly staff updates and council meeting attendance reports. Update on completed and current projects. Okay,
And it was just, it wasn't meant to be a restriction on anything, it was more of a, we'll try and keep it a little bit open-ended so that it gave you all a little bit of flexibility to come and say, hey, here's what we'd like to talk to you about, and here's where we need you to make a decision, or we need you to provide budget and work with, with Bill on budget or something, I don't know, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
If that helps.
thank you.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Anything else on that topic?
Making noise.
The owl's picking it up. All right, we'll move on to item C, then unfinished business. We have Dave Vandehe here as well. We'd like to discuss how the EDC can help promote some of the businesses. I know there was some dialogue on being able to help promote and market some of the existing businesses, especially in the new developments along Glencoe there. So, Dave, feel free to join us if you
Come
want.
on.
or-
Yes.
We need
hit it.
Price is Right music going right now.
Come on down.
So, yeah. Go time.
Now, it's go time, if you don't mind just stating your name, kind of how you're involved with the city's businesses here, and then we can, just have a pretty open dialogue.
Sure. So, yeah, Dave Vandehe with Roll Tide Properties Corporation. We've developed and built the property on Glencoe Road that you guys are probably familiar with, the commercial units. We have most of it full. We still have a couple of units vacant in the second building. But primarily just want to, have the opportunity to discuss with all the stakeholders, being the city, building owners and ultimately, business owners, which are our tenants. How we can kind of all collectively help the businesses. Obviously, I think you guys were, this commission was formed a few years ago to bring in more businesses, which has happened successfully. The city has done a great job in terms of promoting those businesses and help them kind of get their feet off the ground with grants. That's 3 of our tenants utilized, which is great. But what I'm hearing, so generally, obviously, as the building owner, the landlord, we want our tenants to be successful. Naturally for the city, and obviously if just so that, we continue to have tenants and recoup some significant investment that we've made into the buildings. And so I have a lot of contact with our tenants, Amy being one of them, and have, just heard a lot of comments since they've joined, which if I were to boil it down to kind of a common theme, it's they've heard like what the city wants in terms of new services, new food, new, whatever. They feel like, they kind of did their part to bring it. And now they feel like they're not getting supported. And by that, it's, they're feeling like they're not getting enough traffic in the door. So I just kind of want to talk about that. I think, a lot of it has to do with the size of the city, obviously, is a challenge for businesses. Back when we were looking at developing the property, the first thing that we did was, went out and tried to find a business that was possibly interested and we were potentially gonna do just a land lease. And we really couldn't find anyone. Lots of feedback in terms of, not enough rooftops, just not enough traffic. We tried to sell a point that, the thousands of cars that drive on Highway 26 easily take the exit. And then they would come back and say, yeah, but every exit after 185th, you're losing like thousands of cars. I don't know what the stat was. So then ironically, we then kind of went to a plan of deciding to build it out ourselves. We were actually gonna have 3 buildings, and then Taco Bell just kind of showed up out of nowhere. And felt like it was a good fit for them. They didn't want to do the land lease, so we actually, subdivided and sold the property to them. I don't know how Taco Bell is doing specifically. But yeah, so the other tenants, I just get the feeling from them that they're struggling a bit with traffic and business. Blackwater Coffee being the most recent one, still really, really new, so not a real good gauge, but I know in recent communications, feels like it's still a bit slow. So yeah, I just wanna, kind of step in and try to help any way I can in terms of engaging with the city to see what sort of things we can maybe work on together to promote the businesses. I think I've heard some ideas in terms of like signage. It appears that McDonald's does quite well, being the closest to the highway, first thing you see. Possibly some signage in that area that indicates, what else is further down the road. I don't know how much this helps. I just don't engage in terms of, if there was better signage on the street as they drive by. We had a challenge with that, just to share with you guys, and I think the sign code has changed since then, and I haven't really looked into it, but when we initially were developing the property, we want to do a larger monument sign on Glencoe Road, to, advertise the tenants. It has to be a pretty good size because of the number of tenants, and you want it to be able to be readable. So at that time, I think I did apply for a variance. The city was nice enough to come back and say, hey, we don't want you to waste your money on this variance application. It's just not gonna work. So again, I haven't looked at the sign ordinance, but I do believe it's changed. But if there's potentially a way to, add a monument sign along Glencoe Road so that more people see it, but I think probably more importantly than that is just, getting people potentially to take the exit. I noticed just the other day that Melly's is now on a highway sign where it shows restaurants, whatever. I don't know if anyone else is. So yeah, generally, so unfortunately, I didn't come here with answers or even any great ideas. But just kind of want to be involved in the dialogue and kind of see what you guys are thinking. It sounds like it was already on the agenda. So, if you guys have any questions for me, I'm happy to engage as well.
Quick question for the city, the code sign, was that local city code, or does that have to do with ODOT or anything like that?
No,
So
but
it's truly within the city.
yeah, the ODOT ones, that would be the ones on the,
Yeah,
like
on
on
the
26,
highway.
and I think the last after Melly's, they said we're kind of they're kind of at their limit for those. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, so what we've run in with them with ODOT is the business has to provide a full meal. So Amy's run into this with putting Cup of Yo on there. I consider the yogurt a full meal, but others don't. So ODOT won't allow like those type of businesses on there. And then there is the attractions. So I think of because you can have food and then you can have attractions. I think of like the axe throwing place.
Mhm.
I mean, to me, that's kind of an attraction, maybe looking for ways to get them at least because I didn't even know that was there until recently. and I live 2 blocks away. And I'm like, I can walk over here, throw axes, drink beer and stumble home. That sounds great.
No,
That's true.
they don't sell alcohol there.
Well, I'll go to Melly's and get my
Okay,
beer.
yeah, as long as you clarified that, yeah.
Throw some axes. But no, I think.
Just a Wednesday night in North Plain.
You might want to throw axes first and then drink the beer. Just a recommendation.
But no, I think like finding ways to get those ones on the signage would help, and it's exploring the attraction side, because they're pretty strict on the food one. The biggest thing as far as like bringing in the businesses, and this is conversations I think this group has had before. I know I've had it with one-on-one with some folks. The biggest thing is you need an anchor business. You need a business over there that has repeat stops. You think about like when I go to Fred Meyer's down at Cornelius Pass, all those restaurants around there, I'm visiting them because I'm going that direction. I'm going grocery shopping. So I know we have the Glencoe Opportunity Zone, which is still in the works, still a passion project for the city. And we want to see it across the finish line, but like really what's going to drive it is a grocery store. And what's going to drive a grocery store is the topic that I know I'm going to be shunned for even mentioning in this room, actually probably not this room, the UGB. Having some growth to attract a grocery store, to then be the anchor business, to then allow our local businesses to thrive by having that repeat business where people go stop by and then stop over at Millie's and have a beer and a burger afterwards. That's really what this city needs to focus on as far as supporting these businesses. It's getting the UGB to no longer be a disgusting, dirty word, but finding a way to have that conversation in a positive light and getting to a place where we recognize that we do need some business just so our existing businesses thrive. And we need a grocery store to do it. I mean, that's just the reality of it. It's my 2 cents on it. What do I do?
So Dave, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
In terms of the businesses in your property, what is the most successful business and why do they think they are most successful?
Yeah, that's a great question. And to me, it's somewhat surprising. And I don't have actual data, obviously, just from discussions, but I think it's Happy Play. And what's interesting about that is that when I did have a discussion with her about kind of that topic, she indicated that, you know, I think the majority, or at least more than half of her customers are coming from outside the city. Which I was kind of surprised by, but it is, you know, a bit of a unique establishment that there's not a lot of competition around, I guess. But yeah, I would say. It's probably the most successful at the moment.
So somehow has figured out how to get people from outside the city to come. Almost a destination in itself.
Right, and I know that it's maybe not completely comparable, but somewhat. When my kids were younger and growing up, near the zoo in that same parking lot was a children's museum.
Yeah.
And so I remember going there a few times, which, you know, is not next door. We would take a trip out there. And this is, you know, I think she's kind of got like a miniature version of that. I think that's where she's getting some attraction. I think she's also, I think, very good at advertising and social media. Yeah.
She did say that a lot of her business, and a lot of what keeps her thriving too is her private birthday parties. Her private events that she rents out, those drive a lot of her business. So I know that that's a huge attraction for some people because they rent out the whole place. And so that's a big part of her income.
Yeah, she did mention that as well, especially during summer being more of her slow time because it's indoor and people are spending time outside. I think what helped her survive that was the parties.
Yeah, especially during the winter.
Right.
Yeah.
You mentioned incentives. So can you elaborate a little bit on the incentives you have to attract new businesses to your facility?
That we have as the building owner or the city?
Guys, both. You rent it out for them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so from you.
Yeah, well, so we offer obviously new building, new construction, so it's just a brand new shell, blank slate for our tenants at this point. If at any point we have turnover, then it turns into, you know, something different. So we've offered, tenant improvement allowance. That gets them pretty far down the path of improving, and then coupled with the city's grant, was super helpful. In fact, I know, I don't know if Amy's one of those examples, but I think there are at least a couple of examples where without that, they probably wouldn't have pursued, opening the business, but, so yeah, that's generally been our kind of role in incentivizing the tenants in our specific space is to help with the tenant improvement.
Yeah, thank you. So when you say tenant improvement,
So yeah,
can you elaborate?
the build out of the space, so basically the kind of the chain of events that occur when we have a tenant come to us and start the conversation about interest in our space. If they become serious enough to, like, you know, start sketching out a plan of what that layout would look like. We'll take that to our architect, have it drawn up, take it to our builder to have an estimate on construction costs. And that involves, you know, everything outside of the outer shell of the building. So all the specific electrical requirements, plumbing requirements, HVAC, drywall, painting, flooring, everything. It's quite inclusive.
With the 2 units that you still have vacant, what type of businesses are you looking for?
Nothing specific.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it was interesting and, it's been a few years ago now when I was in front of the planning commission in terms of the Taco Bell property. There was some public comment, and some, I don't know if it's a concern or questions as to, you know, why did you go after Taco Bell? Why didn't you go after Chick-fil-A or Chipotle? Everyone has their favorite, right? And I just had to explain, like we're not out, you know, recruiting
Yeah.
specific businesses. So, yeah, well, I'm not looking for anything specific, just hoping that it comes. Now, I do have to be, you know, somewhat selective, especially now already having tenants, so that we don't have, you know, direct competition within the same complex. But I've had a variety of interests, really. And it is kind of strange how that comes in waves. We'll go a couple months with nothing, and then in 1 week, I'll get like 3 calls.
Do you have any pharmacies approach?
No partnership.
Because that's like, especially for the space that you have, when you think about like an anchor business of repeat, like that would be ideal,
Right.
having an independent pharmacy over there. So people have to go get their medicine and then you have opportunities
Yeah.
to go to Melly's or the other places, so. Maybe that's something that we can track down, an independent pharmacy that's looking to expand. Bill gave me the evil eye.
Those part of big pharma.
He's like, not my
Well,
Walgreens
that's
stock
the
going
aim
down.
he's giving everyone these days during budgets.
Yeah, I mean, something like that would be great. I don't really have the resources to go out and try to
Yeah.
find those people or search out, you know, specific types of businesses. So anything like that would be great, and
Yeah, I mean, in terms of our influence like this group can have, it's a bit more like guerrilla style. We can kind of be the boots on the ground and help be the labor that you might have an idea for something and you just don't have the resources. That's what we can help partner on. At least that's, I think, what we try to model our group as, kind of being that conduit between your situation and city council and being able to take in feedback and requests and then be able to action it and help where we can. And if we aren't getting where we need to be, you know, elevating to city council, like, hey, we're getting this consistent issue. Maybe we take another look at the signage codes and try to make it easier on existing businesses first and foremost, and then obviously expanding from there.
Right.
Go ahead, Lisa.
I was gonna say, so apart from the signage and potentially, you know, a future anchor business, are there any other very specific things you've heard from your tenants that the city could help with?
The biggest one is just getting people to frequent their businesses more often. I don't know what the city does in that regards. I mean, I don't know if it's. If there's advertising on, you know, you guys talked about like utility bills and things of that nature. I think there are opportunities potentially for businesses, to pay for advertising. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm interested too in like your guys's thoughts. I mean, I don't know, I assume you guys all probably live in North Plains. Is that
Yeah.
a requirement? So like. You know, do you guys have an impression of kind of that situation where, you know, you hear like, you know, the members of the city saying we want this, obviously, I've, you know, heard grocery store for a long time. Coffee shop has been a big one.
Yeah.
So now, I mean, there's now a coffee shop. And the other coffee shop is now saying this is kind of slow. Could be a lack of advertising, could be it's too new. Just, I don't know, curious of what your guys' kind of thought is on that, where it's like. The city now has it. And is it surprising that, you know, people aren't frequenting it more often?
I mean, I have heard that sentiment. I also then kind of wonder like how, you know, the reason the rooftops keeps coming up and the reason, you know, big box grocers and retailers aren't coming out here due to, they obviously are, in tune with a lot of data and make these decisions with as much, you know, education as possible.
Right.
And so I think if that's just a sign to me that it will be a bit of a struggle and the additional marketing signage, trying to pull from outside of the city, that type of effort, I think, is just required at this point in terms of just volume, sheer volume due to number of residents and whatnot, but yes.
So just, I wanted to expand on that question because. Grocery store comes up a lot, but then I got to Banks and Jim's is surviving, but surviving is kind of generous, I think, it feels like. And they're bigger, well, not bigger, but they're gonna be bigger at this point, if they keep going. And I'm also thinking about some of the conversations we've been having about growth, even if we do expand, it's gonna take quite a bit of time, so I was wondering, and I don't have an answer yet, but I'm wondering, is there something we could do? An anchor business that would go in before a grocery store that would help, and I don't know what it is, I'm just trying to like be creative and help.
It's anything that you have to repeat like on a like it's.
Yes.
I guess pharmacy is gonna be one, grocery store, hardware store. It's gonna be those types of businesses that people have to go to on a, like, I hate driving out of town to go pick up a box of screws because I don't have the right screws in my house. I have thousands of them, but not the right one that I needed, so I have to drive all the way into Hillsborough to get stuff like that. But I mean, you look around and like, it's pretty common, we're all pretty handy people out here, people like their woodworking and stuff like that, and so a business like that would also generate repeat foot traffic and getting people to stay within the city limits to then do those things. So yeah, you're talking about grocery stores, pharmacy, hardware store, anything that like this demographic needs on a weekly, regular, reoccurring basis. So I think as we as an Economic Development Commission think about it, it's maybe God, I'm gonna shoot myself for saying this, maybe a second survey of what businesses do you frequent on a regular, and this is not towards the business owners, but to these residents of the city. What is a business that what is a type outside of a grocery store? Because we all know that's gonna be number one, that you go to on a weekly basis that is not within the city limits right now. And what is something that we could actually bring here? Yeah.
So Aaron's point, I've had thoughts about the grocery store as well. I mean, the first time I sat down with the city, I think Bill was there several years ago, and definitely, you know, there was interest in, hey, why don't you put a grocery store? And it just, I know someone, he's now passed away, that had some small grocery stores in like the Portland area. And actually had a discussion with him, and he's like, yeah, you don't want to go down that path. It's just super difficult to compete with the larger stores. And so one thing I wonder about is similar to what Aaron said about Banks is, even if you have a grocery store, it's gonna be more of a, I don't know, boutique grocery store is the right term, but it's gonna be a smaller grocery store, right? You're not gonna have this huge Fred Meyer, Albertsons, so I assume you're still gonna have people doing their like weekly or bi-weekly shopping still out of town, right? So it's gonna be just the smaller stuff, like your example with, I need a box of screws. I mean, if you needed a bunch of hardware stuff, you're gonna go to Home Depot.
Yeah.
If you need some screws, you're gonna go to a local Ace Hardware or something, right? Which we almost had Ace Hardware, but and I don't know if they're still slated to go in the other zone or if it ever happens, but.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I have a little bit of concern about that too. I don't know the history. I know there is a type of grocery store on Main Street, Kim's. Is that- I don't know.
Market, it's a step up from a Plaid Pantry.
Where you could go if you really needed a gallon. of
Plus,
milk or
you know, it's a liquor store too.
And it's, yeah, it seems like it's probably more successful as that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I think, from the sounds of it, and I do wanna keep moving, but so it's kind of twofold, more long-term, you know, how we can help in terms of solidify anchor businesses and drive more foot traffic and just drive business. But in the near term, some support we can probably help with is, more marketing signage, discussions with the city regarding, code and different variances that might be acceptable and things like that. It sounds like that's kind of, because I don't want to talk too much long-term solutions when the need is now for the existing businesses.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I see like the signage giving more visibility, whether it's like I think we might even do like, we do a volunteer spotlight, but you know, maybe we do a local business spotlight on a regular cadence, some type of self-promotion.
Signage and marketing right now.
Yeah,
I mean, because I think about the places that went, like I said, I didn't know that place went in until recently. And so when we have a new business come in, like every single channel available, whether it's city chamber, random guys twirling a sign on the street, whatever we can do, like we need to be highlighting these businesses that they're here, they're open, and that they're ready to have customers come in. I think that's the biggest thing that the group can focus on for the immediate need is how can we really up the marketing of these new businesses that are coming to town so people know they're there, and then going out and frequenting them.
I honestly think signage is huge. People don't even know that we're there, and we've been there almost 2 years. We have people that go to the grocery stores and they're like, oh, we just happened to look over and saw you over there. Or I'm sorry, not grocery stores, but the gas stations. We just happened to look over there and saw you there. So we thought we'd come and check it out. And we only get gas at this one because our bike requires such and such. And so, I mean, we don't have signage anywhere. There's nothing for us. And, you know, when we first were looking at this space, we had talked to Dave and he said, yeah, we had some initial approval, you know, to have this sort of sign out there. And then when it came down to it, it didn't meet code. And so none of our businesses now have anything. There's a couple of us that had some feather flags out, but those got stolen. So like we literally have nothing. And it's just, it would be so much more helpful to have some sort of visibility that people can't just steal off the road.
maybe that's even an item we can, in our work session with council, like
Yeah.
really focus on
Signage.
signage, and that can be just a main point for existing business development, not any type of new business.
Well, I would say bring both, but maybe phase it. Like, I can't speak for the rest of the council, but I mean, I would love to understand why. Like what the reason was originally for it, so we make sure we don't step on something, but also. I mean, all I'm hearing is it would help a lot of business and, I mean, that's good for the city.
Yeah.
And good for business.
Right.
Like, everybody kind of wins,
Yeah,
unless there's some reason we shouldn't do it. But I don't, it'd be good to have planning, the planning department to come. To that session and talk about it, in my opinion.
well, Dave, thanks for being here.
Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah.
If you hear anything from your tenant that we can improve upon, please let us know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you guys, feel like trying to recruit some pharmacy or anything.
Okay, all right.
We've got roughly 2,000 square feet available.
That each unit or one unit?
That's total.
Okay,
Which they're together, so it could be one unit.
okay.
Okay,
And thank you for all you guys do. I know you're all volunteers and appreciate you doing what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Great.
you.
All right, next we'll we'll go ahead and bring Teresa. Teresa, thanks for being here this evening, and then Lawrence, I believe that's you, correct? I haven't introduced myself, so if you don't mind, you can come up and join us as well. It's pretty apropos to this discussion.
Yeah.
We're cash. We're cash with a blazer.
But you know,
She always.
I
stuff
have
it, but, yeah.
to, because I feel like first impressions. Then you'll see me in my garbage. Like on city
Right.
council meetings, I usually put this thing off so that people can't see that I'm actually sitting in my bed.
You're in a grout pit.
Drinking a beer. Okay.
That's where the memes come from.
Yeah.
Exactly. Should we wait for Aaron or not? Just go ahead.
We can just do some quick introductions. So
Okay,
Teresa, we've been wanting to meet with you for a while
Yeah,
now,
thank
just
you.
to discuss. If you don't mind introducing yourself, and then Lawrence will have you introduce yourself as well, and we can.
Okay. well, I'm working with the city right now as their communications representative. I'm a contractor. I have 20 years' experience in PR and communications. Prior to that, I'm much older than I look. And prior to that, I worked in journalism, television news. And so I've been doing this a really long time. And in the last 10 to 15 years, I've worked primarily with government or government type bodies. So the last place that I had a full-time job was the Port of Vancouver up in Vancouver, Washington. And a lot of the work that I did for them was economic development work for the port. And, you know, just like keeping them out of trouble kind of work as well. So
Very cool. Thank you for being here again.
thanks for having me.
I'm Lawrence. I'm completely new to North Plains. I don't have a business here yet. I've been in Hillsborough for about 15 years. And I'm a mobile food guy. So some people love in my crew and some people have very opinions about it. A little background. Hearing Mr. Van talk, so collectively, I have about 10 or 11 years with both Whole Foods and New Seasons Market. And also a year as a chef and trainer at Collective Market down in Hillsborough, downtown. So hearing him talk about grocery or needs, I mean, why not just a hybrid specialized grocer in the subway building? It could be as small as the Green Zebra or even a micro New Seasons Market model or a Collective Market model. Bill was telling me recently about the two big developments over here, and the demographic of those developments love their fresh produce and specialty grocery items. And just being a chef myself, I've worked with a lot of that stuff, a lot of different international cuisines, and I mean, temporarily, it could be a potential anchor and also an incubator to maybe bring developers in a bigger grocery environment. So that's my spiel on grocery. I think it could work. So I'm not going to be super hybrid. Other than that, I'm just kind of here to meet everybody and maybe talk about the potential for mobile foods here. I know Kent over at the corner, he started out really ambitious. And he just brought a second card and he's had some people move out, and being that I owned Cartong Maine during COVID, the food pod, that was a temporary food pod that the city and I collaborated with and built through some CARES Act money. I ran that for 3 years and it worked really well. But what I found, another point that Mr. Van Hay was speaking on is it's not always about what I learned about the food cart and the food pod is it's not always about what the city can do to promote. It's really about the owners, the business owners. And I've done my somewhat due diligence about, I know Josue and his family. I worked with them for years. And the Axe place, I still have to go there, but that's gonna be a great spot. They don't serve booze.
No, not yet anyway.
Blue Axe service.
Yeah, that's what they do, yeah.
No one's recommending seriously.
No, I think
yet.
I think they were aiming more at
Yeah.
family,
Right, that makes sense.
because they've got miniature golf in there too.
Cup of Yo, I don't, so I'm all about like the little business owner, because I'm super little in the food garden. I don't see much social media presence in many businesses around here at all. And that's one thing that I ran into with my tenants on the food pod is that they wanted me to do all their marketing. They would come to me, I'm not making any money, I'm not making any money. And I'm like, I'm the one pushing on the social media every day. I'm the one cleaning up the pod. But you guys aren't doing anything. I mean, I know running a business, it's exhausting. But if you're not pushing your own marketing, you can't necessarily blame your landlord or the city. And that's my take on the mobile game as far as bringing in business. There's some ownership accountability involved.
And I was just wondering, I saw something on the agenda, sorry, about education, and I don't know, so I'm just asking, is there any way that through the URA or through something is that, and again, I'm not saying we should do something, I'm just asking, I'll be clear. But I'm wondering if there's a way that we can sponsor or get a grant for some kind of marketing training for them.
I was gonna,
Oh,
I wrote that down just now,
Oh, yeah.
just based
That's
on
what
what he
it made
said.
me think about.
Because I thought there's probably people that I could have come in. I'm not. Probably no, I'm not super special about social media, because that's not my main area of expertise. I can do it, but I don't have a strong strategic background in it, so. It would feel better if there was someone that was hired to do training, like a one-day workshop for local business owners. And I don't know how much that would cost. I don't think it'd be that much money. But there are also trainings online, that are, very inexpensive, $30, $40 sometimes. It depends on who it is, but like I take a lot of classes on Skillshare and Domestika, and those are legit classes that teach, how to do social media marketing for businesses.
Wondering if,
I was like, Bill, with our budget, like our, the commission, boards and commissions budget, is that something that we could utilize for putting together a training for the business community on social media marketing? Is that an allowed spend?
I mean,
Would that fall under,
well, you can budget for whatever you want. It's a matter of how much.
yeah,
I mean, we could,
I'm a very small town city manager, so we're not talking big bucks. I mean,
that would kind of fall under the consultant side of things if we hired someone to come do a training.
well, go ahead.
or we as a body can sponsor online, if we have a business that wants to invest in training for social media marketing, SEO, et cetera. They can apply for, similar to like a tenant improvement grant. They can apply for the body to sponsor them, their education, yeah.
Could it even be like a pre-recorded training, where it's,
Yeah, I mean.
That's what I was talking
Right.
about. It's something,
Yeah.
that you just, I don't know, some of them are very inexpensive. But I've paid at the most like $40 for an online, how to do some kind of marketing.
So I will give a shout out that Amy, I know you post every
I was
day,
gonna say,
you have
she
to post every day,
Yeah, that's
Blackwater
awesome.
posts
Yeah,
every day.
she does a great
And
those are the ones who are getting it.
when I
Yes.
see it, I try to repost as the city,
Yeah.
as you know, but I'm not sitting there next to my computer every second of the day
Right.
either. I think residents can start to do that as well. There's certainly a lot of residents looking at Facebook and what the city's doing and having opinions. So, if they could just be nice and repost the posts, it's not even like you have to say anything, like this was delicious coffee. That'd be nice, but you don't even have to do that, right? Just keep it in the spotlight, so,
Well, I know
Anyway.
that videos get a whole lot more attention and they draw a lot more interest because it draws you in, right? You're not just scrolling right past a post. I am older and I didn't grow up with this stuff, and I try, and that's one of the questions we asked our employees is, well, how tech savvy are you? And usually they're all pretty good because they're young, but we work a one-man show and it's really hard for them to then step out. And some of this stuff to make videos, it's time consuming. It doesn't take 30 seconds to throw something together. So initially I was like, we're just going to hire somebody to do it, right?
Yeah.
It's like $1,000 a month.
It's a lot of money. And by the way, Amy, that's not expensive. That's not, it's not. I mean, I know it is, but in the world of
Yeah.
social media, that's not that expensive. If they're, if they're monitoring your, feedback from clients and customers, but they're also creating posts and doing it 2-3 times a week. $1,000 is actually kind of a bargain, but, it can't, you just can't throw spaghetti at the wall and hope it sticks either. There needs to be a strategy behind it. I've thought in my mind since I got this contract that it would be really cool to have a North Plains influencer of some kind and on TikTok. I know it's crazy, but I really do think
You can
that.
pay for your yogurt in a moment. I'm finishing my TikTok.
I'm not saying an employee of any
I know.
of these, but just a person that goes out and goes, okay, I'm gonna go try the new food truck and see what it tastes like. I'm gonna go throw an ad at a small child. Or whatever. So, you okay, Bill?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Bill's a budget
Did I
thing,
say
but don't ask that
bad?
question.
Did I tell you? He looks a little,
No, I just, he's,
So, okay, so can I just throw out an idea here?
yeah,
Please
Um,
do.
So it would be my suggestion that the businesses on Glencoe corridor group together and become a Glencoe corridor
Yes.
business association. So that you have successful businesses like Chevron and others who can pay into this fund. And then you all can co-market and take advantage of co-marketing that the individual businesses are trying to do by themselves in isolation.
right.
And then the URA, the chamber, other entities can work with the corridor association with the business dues that are generated. I'm concerned, so legally speaking, so the reason why the Urban Renewal Association has a tenant improvement program is because the URA is by state law, it has to put money into physical improvements put in place that generate property tax revenue. Because the city's URA is getting property tax revenue that if it didn't exist, would be going to the fire district and the county and all these other things. So all these other taxing agencies are giving up property tax revenue for the city to have an urban renewal agency. But the bargain is the city invests that money into things to grow the tax base so that eventually, when all of this stuff goes away, when the urban renewal agency goes away, there's higher property tax revenue, if not but for the fact that the urban renewal agency happened. That means that when it comes to the city being able to help businesses with promotion or what have you, you are fighting against the library and the police department and every other department for what scarce resources we have.
Right.
And so I guess the first thing I would say is a Glencoe business district. And I mean, you already have bylaws for a downtown association in downtown North Plains. And I think if that formed, then you'd have partner agencies or partner organizations. But all I'm hearing so far anywhere, individual businesses struggling, working hard. Amy, I cannot begin to, imagine the hard work that it is to run your business. But what I'm hearing is I'm having a problem doing this, or I'm struggling with that. And if you can work towards a corridor business association that had shared resources and then had the TikTok promotion, blah,
That
blah,
was just
blah.
a pie in the
But
sky.
get McDonald's
idea.
involved. I mean, that just find resources that you don't have in a cool way and then market the corridor. And then the other thing I would say is that get on the agenda over at the North Plains Chamber of Commerce and talk to them about these things. Because I don't, I go to every one of those meetings and they talk about various things. But I think that this could easily be something that could and should be higher profile on their agendas. That's just my, I mean,
It's a matter of organizing people, really.
it's people, it gets back down to people.
Yeah.
People and trust.
Yeah.
People and trust. But I mean, I think there's power in a group like a business association, if you can saddle that, then you've got some potential, I would say, that would be something I would consider.
I wrote down when Dave was talking that, you know, maybe at some point, and I don't know when, and I don't know if this is possible, and I'm like scared to even say this because you're gonna like shoot daggers at me. But if there were some kind of finder's fee for drawing in new business and,
Interesting.
pardon?
On a basis point of the total revenue.
I don't know what that would be. I just think it would be like if there was a way to reward Dave from, I mean, cause he said he doesn't do anything to attract tenants. He
Dave?
just has he just has buildings, and then if they
Yeah.
come knocking, yeah, I'll show you the building and
Yeah.
here's what we have.
So.
But I thought that real estate people like that actually go out and market their properties.
They work with commercial real estate brokerages usually. I mean, and now, that doesn't mean that always works. CRA has the listing of what's the property that didn't have the grading permit with.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a CRA sign over there, Commercial Realty Advisors, they're the single most powerful retail commercial brokerage company in the state, okay? CRA, they have a sign up over at that property, but I can tell you right now, the people over at CRA in the office actually in charge, marketing that property, it's North Plains. So another thing that needs to be considered is working with the chamber and a business association or a city or whatever, and just get real estate brokers to tour the town,
Yeah.
bring people over. And then if North Plains, I can tell you right now, most of the commercial real estate brokers, North Plains isn't on their radar, but if they come over here and they see the houses that have sprouted up, and here's this main corridor that goes into town, part of it is just getting it on people's radar. It's not on people's radar. It's like with Dave, I can't imagine how hard it is going through what he did to get things built and developed and get tenants, but the reality is that he kind of did it old school, small town. He didn't work with a broker. I really do think he would have filled the buildings faster. It might have been more expensive in terms of, like, he probably skipped the cost of the fee, but the brokerage fees for doing that. But I can tell you right now, he would have filled faster and he would have had income faster. So, it's probably not his full-time job either. So I think you can do things to promote as well. And then just do some pop-up things somewhere. Get people used to the idea, because you're competing, Glencoe Corridor is competing against Hillsborough and Beaverton and everywhere else everything else that's nearby the grocery store they're going to now.
Yeah.
You're
I mean, just
competing
the-
against those other places.
The Chalk Art Festival once a year anyway. We had that right in front of Carts on Main the first year. And I was partnered up with Chadwick actually at the time. He had a cart on the pod. And we sold $1,000 worth of barbecue in like an hour and a half, and we sold out and we had to close. I mean, we were mobbed. So, those kind of events, along with some music, some food carts. And the thing is, with COVID obviously changed everything. The infrastructure in downtown Hillsborough is, I think, a little similar to this, is that there's no infrastructure for restaurants unless, younger owners now who the buildings have passed on to, living in Alaska somewhere, want to spend millions of dollars recoding and restructuring and busting out asbestos, and they're not gonna do that. So that's where mobiles come in. Mobile food brings the food, and food brings the crowds. So it's kind of if we can't get restaurants, people gotta eat, people wanna eat, they love variety, we all do. That's one great strength with mobiles. I will say also too, that with Hillsborough, they have the downtown partnership, which EJ ran. I don't know if she still runs it. But she was pretty creative in using students and volunteers to do social media. And she was on the social media a lot for a while there, and she did hit the ground with a lot of the business owners, always engaging, talking, surveys.
Social media intern for the city?
Social media is everything. We're in that tech age. We all have to get with it. And so
Don't have to
that's
pay.
where we're at. That's where we're at. Attention is money.
Well, and I guess in my view, and doing the digging I've done on this, there's an over reliance around here on Facebook when they need to be on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah, Instagram.
Get the photo of their food
Yeah.
and somebody comes in and enjoys their food or what have you. And, you know, Facebook, you've got the community group, which is perceived to be, there's a lot of people on there. I get it. But if you want reach to bring people in, like being on Facebook and promoting things, whatever kind of business you have, you're getting the word out to the zip code and then Hillsborough and, you know, but you get on Instagram and you're gonna have better reach bringing people in. The community page, the 2 community pages on Facebook, it's kind of a redundant group of about a
They don't let
3 mile
anybody else in
radius.
either.
Yeah, you've got great reach on the 3 mile radius,
Yeah.
but Facebook is not set up to grow reach of things in North Plains. Instagram, on the other hand, is.
I would argue, my wife's a middle school teacher. I would argue TikTok. It replaced Instagram with TikTok, and I feel like that's more accurate. And
I'm old though, so.
I know, but Instagram, yeah, in terms of hierarchy, yeah, you could do both in tandem. But if you're wanting to poll people in terms of like utilizing an algorithm to your benefit, then obviously both, but TikTok is probably,
I'm on TikTok
and so, yeah.
and I'm old.
So how can we, instead of giving a business a fish, how do we teach a business to fish and give them the tool with themselves? To Bill's point, it's, and Lawrence's point earlier, putting some onus, but also helping and facilitating business owners to like better equip them with the tools they need to succeed. And so that's where my head went. And how can we sponsor just what are some barriers to getting educated and getting those tools? It's probably cost, it's time. So if we were able to remove barriers of cost, would be like sponsoring business owners to take these courses. If it's time, facilitating, coordinating, bringing a trainer of some sort,
It doesn't
consultant.
have to be a full day, it can just be like
Yeah.
4 hours or 2
Yeah.
hours even, really.
But doing that work for a busy business owner, I'm sure it might just be a couple hours, a few hours of coordinating and getting everything set up, but that's worth way more than 4 hours to
Well,
them.
and the reason why I suggested is because of what you said, but also because when I was at Lane Transit District and we had to, you know, essentially in not completely shut businesses down, but we were putting a new transit lane through businesses.
Mhm.
And it was gonna impede their traffic and impede their business bad, like the construction was gonna be for 2 years. And so Lane Transit District, I'm sure we had money from the federal government for this. I don't know for sure, but I'm sure we did. Had a training, an advertising program and a training program for those businesses that they offered to them. Not a lot of them took advantage of it, but some of them did. And they were able to sustain their business during that time, and they figured out ways to reap their rises. One guy, and I don't know if he took the class or not, but he had a carpet store way out West 11th, Rocky's Carpet Store. And he used to advertise a lot on the local TV station. And so he started doing his TV commercials like, do you guys hate LTD as much as I do? Come on out to Rocky's Carpet and take a look at our flooring, because we're having a We Hate LTD sale. So it was very clever and, you know, he was full of humor and good humor. He wasn't really hating us. He was just using it as advertising. But I mean, that's the kind of cleverness that you can learn, you know, from this kind of training, how to just outsmart the thing that you're afraid of. So I had other things to talk about, but hey.
What if there's a social media intern who could take a laptop to a business, since business owners are pretty, you know, always under the gun with time and
Yeah.
pressure of running it. You say, hey, I'm here, let's sit down in your dining room for an hour and just light you up on a laptop real quick. So that way you can still answer your phone, you can still take care of customers,
Yeah.
watch kids.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing, I think, is someone's time
Yeah.
that they can't dedicate. I don't know. I was looking at long-term economic development when I was researching yesterday and trying to figure out stuff I wanted to talk to you guys about, but I don't know what the answer is, but Dave was sitting here and I thought, why aren't you going out and trying to get people to? I mean, I knew somebody in Eugene Springfield area that owned commercial properties and was going to places and saying, hey, have you thought about putting a coffee kiosk right here? You know, I don't know, it just, maybe he doesn't know he can do that.
Maybe time on his part,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I think regarding his marketing, whatever he's doing, whatever his day job is, it makes extra time precious, and his marketing of the buildings was pretty passive.
Yeah,
You know, put a sign up, if you would like to be here, call.
yeah, yeah.
You know, and I get that if that's how you have to do it, that's how you have to do it, but, you know, it might slow things down.
Yeah, I know he owns a lot of buildings, so and it is his full-time job, from what I understand. He actually is a CPA by trade, but does this now full-time. Because he does own so many buildings. So, I think it's just not his top priority in getting these filled. I think, you know, I know with how much I talk to him and how much he is engaged with just me as a single business owner. I can imagine he's engaged with so many others. And so, yeah, I know in general, I keep him quite busy just by things that I need or questions that I have to, you know, like parking signs and things like that, you know, I contact him periodically with. So with that many buildings that he owns and that many tenants, I think North Plains renting these two out is just not top priority, you know, as far as where he puts his effort.
The terms of that subway building, the lease, the rent per month.
So my understanding is that building changed hands and sold to the Taco Bell franchisee not long after they moved in a couple of years ago. And then they leased back the Subway. But the terms, goodness knows. I mean, yeah, I mean, one of the challenges with North Plains generally, but Glencoe, and there's no great, I don't know of any quick way to crack this nut, but most of I mean, if you think about it, most of the businesses who are on Glencoe either have owned their own building for a very long time, or they're in a building that has been around a long time. And what does that basically mean? That means that all of the businesses here, or all the buildings on Glencoe, or most of the buildings on Glencoe, except for the ones Davis built, their basis is, they're like, they might not have debt service anymore. Their basis is super cheap. And what that means is that they're not in any pressure to really push and kind of have tenants raising their rents and this, that, and the other, because they don't have debt service, and they probably, you know, have deferred maintenance. And so what that means is that there's like no pressure on businesses to promote, to like, even the property owners aren't promoting and trying to get out there and that sort of thing. And so, you know, and this kind of gets back to the whole grocery store problem, having an anchor, the Glencoe Opportunity Area. And the city would like to see rents to go up. Like the development, the whole Glencoe Opportunity Area development would happen tomorrow if they could pro forma that project at rents that you get even in a moderate retail district of Hillsborough. But because the buildings around here are older, the rents are low, the developers come and look at it and they go, what's rent here? Oh gosh, it's a third of what you can get in Hillsborough. And they plug in the numbers, and it's like, that ain't happening unless the city gets $1 million grant to throw away dirt. And then the urban renewal agency has to throw a bunch more money at it. So all that being said, getting things happening here, even temporarily, getting people trained to come to have events, what have you, anything and everything. Get the people who ride bicycles to park at the Glencoe Opportunity Area instead of Jesse Mays, and then they're shopping, or have them shop downtown, whatever. I mean, just get people used to going and shopping and being on the Glencoe corridor. Get businesses more successful, rents go up. Then get some familiarity with the district, bring some people in from outside. I mean, those are just a few things you can do, you know, that can be done. The problem is that the city as an entity. I mean, I'm happy to be a part of that. I have contacts. I have some ideas. I've seen it, before I came here, the job was to identify how to do things in corridors like this, look at other places, case study. There's things you can do. It's just, the city as an entity, it's kind of tough because, until it's time to put improvements in place with the urban renewal agency, it's really kind of the city in general, and our resources are scarce, but there's things that can happen.
Therese, did you have any other?
I just, for long-term stuff, I mean, I don't know if you guys have looked at the Port of Vancouver's website under their, first of all, let me just explain what their business is. They have it's a public-private partnership, so some of their revenue is from taxes, but most of it is private, coming from tenants, marine dockage fees, wharf fees. They are the largest port that exports wheat to China in the Northwest. And they are the largest importer of Toyotas on the West Coast. And they make their money from those people primarily. The taxes that they receive from their property in their district is set aside and reserved for any improvements to the port. That's how they use that money. So if a building needs a new roof, they put a new roof on with that money. I forgot to say, they also have a lot of industrial land and industrial buildings where they have some manufacturing going on. There's one is a cabinet company, and they make cabinets for ready-built homes. And so they make their money in their private sector work that they do. And their marketing and PR is very slick and very expensive to pay for. They have drone footage filmed to show, the whole port and all the different docks that are available and what those docks serve. They have, of course, film video about the industrial land and the business parks that they have too. It's a very large acreage. So their work is to primarily draw private clients. That's different than having a government trying to get economic development into their city. So they have a lot of more resources than certainly cities do and North Plains. But what they do, I think that they do really well, is do a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. They have joined us groups in the marine and logistics and transportation groups that there are. And they do a lot of posting about the different things that are going on. If they get a new tenant or client, they, would write a press release and they would put that out on LinkedIn. And the appearance is that then they look like they're like really hot stuff because they have so much business going on, and doesn't everybody want to work here or come here? So I think using LinkedIn for attracting new business would be really good. I was a little confused by I was reading the document online last night that I think you guys produced in 2021.
Our roadmap?
Yeah, something like that. I can't remember the title of it exactly, but it was definitely from 2021, and it was a lot of economic data, and I'm tried to get through it, but I was thinking it's all moot kind of at this point right now, because we can't, even with our own federal government, we cannot do projections or get accurate data about what the future holds. So planning ahead is really hard for anybody, and not just the city of North Plains, but for any business. So investing a lot of money in something would not be wise, I think, right now, at least for another year, until we can figure out where we're going with all of this stuff. But there was that whole section on the semiconductor industry, and I thought that's interesting. What happened with that? I'm not sure I know what happened with that.
With the CHIPS Act.
Possibly putting a semiconductor business in over here. Laura's shaking her head.
We have a semiconductor business is coming.
And when is that landing here? When is
It's
that?
under construction, will be occupied later this summer.
later this summer.
Yeah, question,
I'm gonna be
210,000
excited
square
to
feet.
do some PR on that. I
210,000,
think.
well,
That'll be fun.
you might not be able to do much. They're kind of top secret.
Is it with the United States Army?
No, no, but we, over there is a big, for us, a big thing. Yeah. I think what you're referring to had to do with,
Probably the CHIPS Act.
the CHIPS Act that really didn't, for Oregon to materialize, money went to other states.
Yeah, that's a shame.
It is.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a really well-written report. It's just that I feel like all the information in it at this point is, it needs to be redone or something. And I don't know who you guys have doing the research, but like, an inventory of assets would be really helpful. I can market the heck out of anything as long as I know what I have to market with. But, I think everybody's in just a weird space and nobody knows what to do. Like, where should we invest our time and effort and energy to do marketing for our organization, whether it's government or a private company? And I think just like getting immediate people to do a Glencoe in the Glencoe area would be good. And I think the Small Business Association would be excellent. The Glencoe Business Association would be a really good thing to help them with, because they can pull their resources together and maybe just with a little bit of guidance from the city.
Mhm.
Or, a little bit of help. We could do that.
Businesses and property owners. Don't forget the property owners.
That's what I mean. It's gotta be all of them.
Cause I know a property owner that I could twist his arm.
Oh, good. I think like, getting testimonials from stakeholders and other businesses in town would be really helpful to use in advertising or in social media posts. That would be really good to use on LinkedIn. Like,
Yeah, even if we do, I mentioned like a weekly, monthly small business spotlight, but it's
I would love to do that.
testimonials from business owners.
Yeah, or just spotlight the, local businesses. And I do think, I don't know, is it Blackwater Coffee? Is that what it's called? Have they had their grand opening?
They have.
They have,
No, isn't it this weekend?
It's coming.
maybe, yeah, that's.
Maybe it's this
that
weekend.
Mother's Day.
Yeah.
I mean, if
It's Saturday.
they send me photos from that, we could put that in we could,
17?
The 17th.
Oh, okay.
if anybody sends me photos, we could put that in the newsletter too.
Oh, yes.
But also, I know we're trying not to do any advertising in the newsletter, and I don't want us to do blunt in your face advertising, but just like you said, a spotlight. Hey, these folks just opened, go by and have a cup of coffee.
Well, we actually legitimately, we do have a sign that says this business assisted by the North Plains New Food Tenant Improvement Program that they're supposed to put in their window, and we can go interview, take photo,
Okay,
put it in
That
the
kind of
newsletter,
stuff, yeah.
promote it. Yep.
and that's helpful. I think at some point, if there's some money a year from now, maybe, I don't know, it would be nice to have a brochure made. I saw something on, was it Tillamook, City of Tillamook's website?
Mhm.
They had a slideshow. They had it was still photography and it was nice. But I'm at the port and we've got this cool drone video flying over the whole port. It's like the coolest thing ever, but expensive. And then I went to the city of Tillamook and I was looking at this. It was a nice slideshow just about what's available in the city with the assets and the benefits of doing business in North Plains. And I think that's could be doable. A better photographer than me, but be a heck of a lot cheaper than, a drone flyover video. But it could be nice to put a little slideshow together about, like a little package online. Which is exactly what the port has. Their entire marketing suite of packages is online on their website. Under their marine. They do have a specific economic development part of the website, but the marine side is separate from that. And so you go under marine and you go down, you'll look at brochures, and it's really very nice video and stuff like that. So,
I think potentially for this group next month, maybe we can have some further discussion about. Here are some specific items that we want to partner with Teresa on, whether it's like a business spotlight, we can help you identify business owners that would be good to spotlight and work with you on that, or. I'm still thinking social media marketing training courses and somehow implementing some of those.
And I can do a little
assistance.
research about like who could offer that. That wouldn't be too terribly expensive.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. And then,
And can I throw out one immediate idea that they think we can action on? So we've got the ice cream social next month, which has a huge turnout. Could we do an EDC table and even do something like, did you know these businesses exist in your town? Like the Axe Throwing, the Caprio, the Happy Plate, something like that, where it's just there are hundreds of residents who show up to that ice cream social.
It's like a 20-foot table and have the business owners. Have those business
Yeah, the
owners.
library does a table, the
Have the
police,
table.
they have a tent up.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
couldn't we do an EDC and promoting local businesses? It could be pictures for.
If you,
it
yeah,
can
if you
be
could
very
contact them, if they could give you a sheet of information, a flyer or anything that. Or even if business cards or, if they were smart, they'd like 10%.
bring yogurt.
We're gonna be there as a vendor, actually, so.
Well, the Garlic Festival, Cindy always has us working the booth,
Mhm.
Yeah,
like, what is?
so
Something,
both opportunities, both of the ice cream
Right,
social, something really simple, just to show these are your local businesses, and then to plan on something for the Garlic Festival.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't even cost us, maybe anything to do that, or very little.
when is the ice cream social in June?
Yeah,
Thursday
beginning
in
of June.
Okay,
The 5th.
Yeah.
And the more photos that, see, I live in Raleigh Hills, so getting out here to every single thing is really hard. But if people send me photos, I can put those in the newsletters. So,
well, thank you for being here, Teresa.
thank you.
Appreciate your
You
time.
know, there's a lot of things that, but I was really worried last night thinking, we don't know what's gonna happen a year from now. And I'm not trying to be negative about, but I know business owners that don't know how to forecast right now, and they're worried. So I think we're all just gonna have to hang on.
And that's not even a small business problem, that's across the
That's what I
board.
mean. It's
Yeah.
like, Coca-Cola is probably wondering what's happening, or,
I work with Boeing and
there
it's,
you go.
yeah, believe me, it's not,
Yeah, I mean, Boeing, whose big contractor is the United States government, right?
right, right,
It's self to shine.
Yeah, that's scary.
not right now.
Not right now, that's true.
And then Lawrence, thank you for being here too,
Yeah,
as well, I
absolutely.
appreciate your time.
Thanks for letting me just kind of ramble.
Yeah, we can,
Yeah. I'm pretty high energy, so-
Are you bringing a truck in? Is that what you're doing?
Possibly, yeah.
When are we doing that? And what kind of
what
food is that?
Personally, I do smash burgers. It's called
Oh,
Moro Burger.
yum.
Yeah, I've been working in Hillsborough since, oh man, Moro Burger started in 2014.
Wow, yeah, I try to make those at home. It never really works out.
You don't want your kitchen smelling like my food truck. out
I'm
there.
telling you, my kitchen does smell like you. But they're good. I mean, I love them. They're good.
yeah. Lawrence has some really great, even like concept,
Oh, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
designs that,
Super cool.
yeah, we can discuss further. And we'd love to either have you come back out and we can talk some more
For sure.
as it evolves and things like that. So,
Yeah, I'd love to be a part of anything I can win, as far as, I know a few people
Okay.
over the course of the card game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you again. Appreciate your
Thank
time.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you both.
We did have one more item on the agenda, Bill, I wanted to run by you. Yeah, EDC meeting protocol discussion.
Yeah.
Are you privy to that agenda item, what we need to discuss for that?
I think, maybe, I don't know, did I put on?
Yeah.
Did I?
Well, I didn't.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think the main thing was just kind of a check-in. I think we had at a meeting, we had somebody try to blurt in at the wrong time or blurt in rather inconsiderately. when public comment was done, or somebody logged in late and just thought they could start speaking. Just kind of want to check in, feel free to enforce standard rules about meetings, public comments during a certain time. Now, you know, city council, because they address everything, and sometimes the topic comes up. Sometimes the topic's not on an agenda, and sometimes the topic isn't on the agenda, but people still show up to talk about it. We get a lot of public comment from city council. And so city council has a rule, at least right now, where if you want to make online comment, you have to kind of like confirm it. You have to confirm you're gonna do it the day, you know, by a certain time, the day of the meeting. You all don't have big controversial juicy things, so you can kind of, if somebody's online, you can just let people raise their hand, you know, you can kind of be old school about it. But I guess I would just kind of reinforce that, enforce your rules and don't feel like, you know, it's nice to let people ask questions or something, but if they're disruptive, you don't have to.
Absolutely, and I mean, call us punk rock, but I would love for this group to be somewhat of a you know, variation of standard public forum where I want it to be more of a dialogue. Now, I fully understand the other side of the coin with that and being able to push back where needed if it starts getting off the rails and we start getting pretty consistent out of sequence comments and things like that. We are luckily in a situation where we don't get a lot of that, where if, you know, for example, city council members fully understand that you need to have those guardrails in place because it will often veer off a cliff.
One thing too, it's also like public comment is public comment. It's not to then jump into the conversation and take an active seat on the commission.
Right.
And so what I always think about is like, yeah, public comment's fine at the end of a subject, but like, that's where it should come in, is at the end of the discussion, like, hey, I was listening to the conversation, I heard this, I'd like to make comment. And we allow that comment and we say, thank you for your comment, we'll take it into consideration and move on. I just think that when you allow it in the middle of a topic, it's then now they're inserted into the discussion and the discussion is meant for the commission.
Or I think even in this specific instance, we essentially had to rehash a prior month's.
It was a prior
year's meeting of answering questions, and I think at the time I said I have no problem doing that if it helps, you know, educate our community, and not everyone's gonna attend every single one of these meetings, even though it's probably better than your primetime television, right, Bill?
Primetime.
I don't know, it's an old thing before streaming, I don't know.
Is that on NBC?
Yeah. It was like ER and anyways.
Great Anatomy.
Grey's Anatomy, yeah.
Season 25 right
Yeah.
now.
I'm
Anyways.
catching up on all the family things.
Wow, are you sure age?
So anyways, yeah, I have no problem doing that at our group's discretion as we feel, you know, it best suits the community discussion, so. Okay, that was our last topic here. There are some supplemental documents, so the 3J Consulting City Council updates in our agenda packet, as well as the staff report that we can look at as a group on our own time here. Any other topics or go backs from our discussion tonight?
No, new business,
New business?
new suggestion,
The new.
when you're all done. Sorry.
Council members, commission members, anything? Okay, now that new from Bill.
Yeah. Okay, so I wanna be them, actually, I'll let Council President Dunbar if he wanted to do it, but, we have an interest in different types of businesses besides restaurants. Interested in how or what the Urban Renewal Agency can do in terms of incentives. We have the tenant improvement grant program for extraordinary tenant improvement costs for new restaurants that offer sit-down dining as part of what they're doing, so. So before you is the question, we've had testimony at city council, we've had testimony at city council from one business that has been here before, Sisters and Stuff. you know, asking the question, is urban renewal agency something that can help the situation that they have? We have a daycare company, a daycare operator, runs a Montessori in Hillsborough, successfully looking to expand in North Plains, but has some concerns about the issues with the building that they're looking at, and maybe that's something the URA can be involved in. And then we've for urban renewal rural plan reasons, kind of like I expressed earlier, we've been hesitant to go down the path of doing things that help food carts, mobile food actually, because unless something is permanent improvement put in place that could benefit a business, like if that business leaves it, like you can expect, you know, some kind of longevity of the improvement being used by businesses. We've had hesitation about the URA getting involved in mobile food, just that field. So the bottom line here is that what types of businesses might we expand the tenant improvement program to include? What industries, what criteria? That's a conversation, and that's probably gonna take a little bit of time, but I would be working with you on that. But I think council's very interested in expanding what types of businesses might benefit from that program, and legitimately so. I mean, I'm not against more, you know, I distinguish certain types of businesses from others in terms of like, well, are we putting permanent improvements in place? Or would we kind of be doing something that would help something temporary? And that might not be, you know, copacetic with the urban renewal plan. So anyway, just putting that out there.
With the goal to be, I mean, we can talk all day long in terms of anecdotal feedback we've gotten about what businesses, but with the goal to be to try to have some type of data-driven decisions on what businesses. You
I
know,
was just saying, I think it would be a few different things. Number one, you know, you all have done a wonderful job of when the city is ready to move forward with doing a new urban renewal plan, and I'm budgeting for that. You have all already surveyed and looked at other new urban renewal plans to see what's modern versus what we have. You know, if you all are interested in looking to seeing innovative ways that urban renewal agencies and other communities are trying to do things for more than just new food service, you're welcome to do that. You can look at it from the standpoint of what your survey results are, or however you want. The bottom line is that the end goal here is a new policy or expanded policy for more types of businesses.
expanded scope of what.
Yeah.
falls under.
And what would be bigger bang for the buck in terms of, yeah, these types of businesses are big employers or are known draws. They like what I like to call the industry term, it might not be used anymore because I'm old, but the old term was halo effect. So if you have a business at a location, and if you can put some money into to make it more functional for a certain type of business to get them over the hump, doesn't have to be food necessarily. But if you do that successfully, then that increased traffic kind of creates traffic going by other things. Some businesses don't create a halo effect if you know, it's just a different type of business. So those sorts of things. Okay.
Yeah, I think what I would add is, I think, well, at least me, what I'm looking for from you is help us craft the policy that will support the city. We just need some input, and how you get that input is, we don't want to tell you how to do your job, but we just want you to tell us, this is what we have seen, and here's how, you know, and maybe show a little bit of your work just so we understand. Because we want to make sure that we create policies that support both you and the city to make sure that we get where we're trying to get to.
Okay. Yeah.
And I have opinions, but I don't really have like a solidified idea, so that's why we kind of want all of you to tell us, this is what we see.
Mhm.
And then hopefully we can craft a policy with your help that, you know, Bill and the EDC can help us codify so that it fits what we're trying to do.
Right.
If that
Okay,
makes sense.
yeah. Sounds great. I'm looking forward to that.
I've actually published statistical research on this, by the way, so we can come back about that too.
Send me your white paper.
white paper. I am known for the Whole Foods effect in early 2000 social media.
I didn't realize we were sitting in the presence.
The secrets that he holds.
No, for real, no.
For real, I don't.
Right, I believe you, Bill.
So the question I have is, where am I supposed to put a port so we can do all that?
I'm telling you, they are slick out there, but they have money.
Just be slick.
Yeah.
Union, right?
The north,
They-
the north
they-
port.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to dredge Ghost Creek.
You know, actually, you had talked about that freeway, or there's a bypass that somebody wants to put to go up to, I don't know, is it St. Helens or out here somewhere? Am I dreaming
Out
this?
to Scappoose.
You can drive over the mountain to get to Scotland.
Well, did you talk to me once, or was I dreaming that there was somebody was talking about getting funding for a road to go out that way?
You were talking to somebody.
It'll never happen.
Yeah, you were talking to somebody else.
It had to be, but anyway, it dumps you off, I think, at the Port of Portland, it would dump you off.
There you go. Alrighty, I think we're gonna wrap up here. I don't, unless there's any other comments input from the group this evening. All right, we'll go ahead and adjourn 7:48 PM. Thank you again to all our special guests this evening.
I feel like I didn't have very much. Sure you do.